Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 596. Today we'll be doing battle and backpack battles. And so the new patch is here, the big old bag patch is here, arguably the biggest patch in the history of the game, at least in the time since I've started playing it, just having a humongous effect on the outcomes all across the board. And so a day late on the patch, most certainly not a dollar short in terms of impact. And so with this one, I haven't gotten to the point yet to where I feel expert enough to make a full patch notes style video. Maybe here in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I'll feel good enough about my skill level to make a accurate assessment of what happens within each patch. So I'm not making a full separate video, but I do want to talk about the patch here just a little bit. And so if you don't care about my thoughts and feels, feel free to skip ahead to the gameplay. But I did want to call out a few things before we dive into battle today. And so 3 things specifically. Number 1, just some of the patch notes themselves, the things that I think are interesting. What are they called? The badges or the amulets have all been upgraded, and these are upgraded pretty heavily. Typically, as you see the upgrades or the buffs or the nerfs of the items, it's a very small numbers, right? Like Ruby Whelp at a point or a tenth of a second, Ice Dragon at a tenth of a second, a Cross Blades increase from 3 to 4%. These are like very small ball changes, but the amulets all saw pretty big ones. It's basically 5s across the board in terms of what you're seeing within those changes. And to me, some of the amulets were almost good enough, right? I felt like the Amulet of Energy was fine. The Thorns Amulet was kind of okay. The Amulet of the last one, the food one, the Amulet of Feasting was pretty decent as well. The other 2 kind of sucked, the Amulet of Steel and the Amulet of Alchemy, but it's pretty heavy changes across the board, and for items that were almost good enough, like the Amulet of Energy, just shooting up this high is a fairly big deal. And so I do expect to see more amulets kind of across the board next week. Up next is these big items, the Holy Armor, Moon Armor, Corrupted Armor, and to a lesser extent the Vampiric Armor, all saw a buff in the previous patch. I believe they were all cards that were kind of on the edge to me, in the sense that if it was on sale, I would snatch it up. Like there's just a huge money differential between a 7 mana armor and a 14 mana armor. So if it was on sale, we almost always picked it up. But they were just getting to that point to where it was almost worth paying for it at the full price. Now, as this ticks down lower and lower and some of the battles drag on longer and longer, getting more activation out of these items is a pretty big deal, and I expect to see more of these as well. And so very interesting and powerful update across the board with all of these armors, another thing to watch out for. As far as class-specific things go, big buff to the Pyromancer in terms of the dragons. Essentially, every dragon in the game got its cooldown reduced from 2.2 to 2.1 seconds, and while that doesn't sound like a big buff in terms of a singular dragon, right? If you just rando got an egg and you have 1 dragon in your build, it's not that big of a deal. But when you have this upgrade spread across like 6 and 7, or if you high roll even like 8 dragons, that's a very big increase in DPS. And so surprising to see that go, because that does seem to be like a very big update to hit across the board. Last but not least, the final thing I wanted to call out was the change to the Yggdrasil leaf. At least in my opinion, over the course of the past 2 weeks, the prismatic orb mana builds have been the most powerful thing you can be doing in the game. We were having quite a bit of success with them in the weaker class in the Berserker, and so I was actually curious if they were going to be nerfed at all this week. But it's surprising to see things like the Yggdrasil leaf come in and just get upgraded, becoming a magic item that now activates the prismatic orb. Within the class, it was arguably the strongest one to be going for prismatic orb based builds. And so I'm interested to see if this has any shakeups in the upcoming week. You most commonly, I should say, see the 4-leaf clover, the Lucky Strike build, whatever the fuck it's called, as far as the ranger based builds go, but it may not be the way to do it. You do have a lot of ways to just insta crit within the ranger anyways, and I'm curious to see if this leaf pops up as just another way to just get humongous amounts of mana super fast. And so very strange to see that upgrade to magic. It makes sense, you know, it's a magic based item, let's put the magic tag on it, but those magic tags are incredibly powerful this week. And so, interesting stuff. We'll see how that plays out. Moving forward, the next 2 things, the bags themselves, I think are very interesting in the kind of grand scheme of the game. I know that a few weeks ago when I saw the beta release, branch thing coming out, I think it's great for the game thematically, right? You're playing backpack battles. It makes sense that there should be, 4 or 5 or 6 different backpacks that you get to choose from. And it's a very on theme way to add different elements to the game and add different characteristics to each of the classes. But the thing that I'm ultimately kind of concerned about with the addition of these bags is it does start to get things to be very high rolly. And so what I mean by that and where that thought comes from is if you say, look at the utility pouch, this is the bag we'll be using today and for the remainder of the week. This is the new bag for the Berserker, and the weapons inside deal 30% more damage but attack 30% slower. And so when you think of this at like a high level, what you're going to look to do with it is not play on hit items, right? If you're attacking 30% lower, you're going to get 30% less on hit effects. And so things like Mana Thirst, things like the Hungry Blade aren't going to be nearly as effective because they need to get their hits in to generate some kind of effect. And you're going to be looking for like the big, burly, heavy, high-powered strike kind of items like the Buster Sword, which, as you get one singular hit in, it's typically enough to just kill your opponent. And if that one singular hit now does 30% more damage, it's much more likely to get that big OTK in. And so it starts to really kind of like define where your builds are going to be going in the sense that if I don't want on-hit effects, I probably don't want Brass Knuckles, right? Or if I need to build towards the Buster Sword or the secondarily like double Big Axe, I probably don't want to be going towards mana builds, right? And both of these things probably want me to be building towards gemstones, so it's like much more likely to go towards a shaman mask. And so it just kind of like ties into these polarizing style of effects, and while they may be accurate, they may not be accurate with the current state of the game. I think that there's no denying that the bags do kind of tunnel you into the various builds that you're going to be assembling. And so my concern with this starts to be if, okay, I pick the utility pouch, the only viable builds or I shouldn't say the only viable builds, I should say the most viable build is Buster Sword. And so from the start of the game, I'm just going to start building towards Shaman Mask Buster Sword. And if I get a gemstone bag thing early, great. If I don't, I'm probably getting 0 LP. If I go the whole game without finding it, I'm going to be at 0. And same kind of things apply to the Buster Sword. It's like, if I don't find a Buster Sword until round 8, I'm probably not going to be that successful. If one magically shows up at round 5, then I'm off to the races. If an on sale one turns up around round 5, then fucking awesome. Like, I'm here to blast. And so it just worries me that as these different bags polarize you towards certain builds, then you just get punished based on RNG as terms of whether or not things turned up or not. And so I know that that is fairly reductive. I'm sure you can make strong builds out of every subclass with each of the bags, but at the highest of skill levels, that's where the concern would start to lie, in that you run into, like, if looking at it in terms of team fight tactics, you have a lot of options in terms of going for a build that's either very good at getting first and second, or it tends to get 7th or 8th, or you have a lot of builds that are just much more consistent, but they don't give you as big gains. And so you get, 3rd or 4th very often. You very rarely lose LP, but you very typically don't gain a ton. And it just feels like it pushes the builds much towards that super swingy, high rolly kind of thing, the 1st or 2nd or 7th or 8th. And I'm not entirely certain how I feel about that in terms of being truth or the way that the game will go down, but it's what it kind of feels like to me. Last but not least, we do have an item that I think is just absolutely detrimental. I hate this thing so much, and that is the Star of Courage. And so the way you get the Star of Courage is that you just start with a random character. So if you see at the start of the screen, you used to just, be able to choose a class. We're starting with the Berserker this week, but if you choose your class randomly, you now just get that Star of Courage. And that's absurd to me in the sense that two separate things. Like, if there's just a class that you want to play, right? If you want to be a Berserker main, or you really enjoyed the Berserker, or you see a new item come out and you really just want to try out the Berserker, you're now at a disadvantage, right? That there's just like the opponent gets to start with better stuff because they selected to go with a random class as opposed to the one that they wanted to play. And that is just like, that just sounds like an absurdity to me, right? And so it's like if you wanted to go to a Magic the Gathering tournament and you had the choice to play a random one of 3 tier 1 decks, or you wanted to bring the deck that you wanted to play, you are at a disadvantage for bringing the deck that you want to play. Like that's just like pure insanity to me. And like I get the reason for it. It makes sense if you're wanting to be like, well, I want people to try out all the classes, or I want people to just not play whatever the most meta thing is at the moment. And so we'll give people wanting to try random classes this opportunity to try them out at a bonus like level or something. And I get like the kind of thought process behind it. I just think that it's wrong. And it worries me in that sense. And then it also worries me in the sense that, you know, we'll just say that the Ranger Prismatic Orb build is the best one in the game. And so just like 25% of the time, you just get to play the most powerful thing in the game with an enhancement. Like, it's just so wild to me that this is the way that it actually turns out. If you want to put this in for like unranked mode, fine, you know, fucking whatever, do what you want in unranked. It's just completely absurd to me that this style of item would make its way in on the ranked ladder. And so, I mean, I don't know how, like, competitive the Backpack Battles ladder is meant to be. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Maybe it's kind of like Legends of Runeterra, to where it was a competitive game and now it's not anymore, so who fucking cares, right? But it just like strikes me as a very poor idea to be putting this thing into the game. To a lesser extent, there are the new Sack of Surprises. If you choose to start, you can get this with random items instead of a random bag. Like, it's another super high rolly kind of thing. I don't think it's as big of a deal as it is as the just, you know, starting with the random star, but I really just don't like seeing these additional elements to the game. It's just there should be RNG aspects to every game. Sure, that's what makes them interesting, right? If you don't like RNG, go play chess, go play Go. Like, there's plenty of games out there that don't have RNG involved in it. I just think this is just like the absolute most piss poor way of going about it. And so, you know, we'll see how it comes out. But I really do not like the addition of these Star of Courage. Is it even fucking socketed? I just realized that. I haven't even noticed that before. You can see the socket on it now as well. So you get a free item with a socket in it. Great decision. But nonetheless, we'll leave the saltiness at home. Probably we'll try to leave the saltiness at home, and let's dive into talking about the Berserker class and what we'll be doing today. And so, why does it still say your class and loadout will be chosen randomly? I've selected the Berserker. I've selected the utility pouch. Oh, okay. That's not like a class. It's a on-off switch. Gotcha. But nonetheless, we'll be coming in playing with the Berserker today. I'm interested to see how this plays out. The things that I've taken as a high level with this so far is I've come out here and tanked like 70 LP, just dicking around with the Berserker class are. It feels much different than playing the regular Berserker in the sense of really kind of trying to define what you want your class items to do. To me, and what I've kind of found is that with the Duffel Bag Berserker, to where you get the Battle Rage at 50% health, you get a lot of benefits for, say, using the Berserker armor, or whatever this thing is called, the Dragon Scale armor, in the sense that, let's say that we have a bunch of vampirism, right? So let's say we've got a bunch of bloody daggers, or maybe we have a bunch of heal with like cheese gooberts and stuff. What you would tend to see with the 50% health thing is you go to 50% health, you gain a shitload of armor, and then your health just regains itself back from 50% to 100% while that armor shrinks away. And so that gets you in this kind of mindset as to how you can piece together your builds. You would prefer to have bananas as opposed to having onions, and then you would prefer to just like, right? That makes kind of sense, right? I'm trying to get the items off the top of my head, but when you know that you're going to have half health when the Battle Rage hits, that's how you go to make your build. But what you'll find with this new bag is that after 5 seconds you hit Battle Rage, and so it's just gonna hit, and then you don't really want to be having things like the armor, as it's just going to come out and waste your resources. You're going to find that you have like 90% health when Battle Rage hits. You hit your Battle Rage, you pick up a bunch of armor, and then you don't get to heal back anything, and so you lose out on a bunch of resources. And so from an item perspective, what I found that I like with the Berserker is the gloves I like. They just activate super fast. The boots I don't hate. You just get empowered fairly early into the build, and then things like the armor I do not like because it activates weird and makes you lose out on resources. The other things that I'd like to call out with this is the weapons inside deal 30% damage but attack 30% lower at a super high level. We don't want to be playing on-hit based items. Things like Chain Whip just activate slower, remove buff slower. Don't really want to be doing that. Anything based on a Hungry Blade, don't really want to do, although I will say that the mana builds still seem extremely strong and they seem worth chasing. It should, on theory, be worse since we're getting less on-hit based effects. The things that you do want to be chasing after are just like the big, bulkiest, single-hit crit type of items, and then getting that one big singular crit kind of thing makes me want to go after the dog-based builds. And so we will rate the pets a little bit higher. Now, it's not to say you can't do other builds without this kind of thing. Like, I'm very interested in hammer brass knuckle builds to where we don't put the hammer and the brass knuckles within the bag, right? You don't have to put your weapons inside of the bag. You don't have to interact with this. Weapons deal more damage but attack slower. You can just keep them outside of the bag. And so one of the ideas that I kind of have with this patch is looking towards hammer and brass knuckles, both of which will be outside of the bag. And then, we'll have 3 daggers or 4 daggers inside of the bag, getting the attack or getting the damage bonus, and then also just trying to get all of those free attacks in off of the stuns. And so there are a lot of intricacies with this bag. There's a lot of interesting things that we can do. You do need to kind of modify your expectations of when the battle rage is hit and how to best use it. And so all in all, I think it's going to be a fairly interesting bag to use. It's just going to be finding the most effective ways to utilize it. And so, with that out of the way, let's dive on in. Also worth noting, we don't start with any weapons or anything, right? We've got the banana, we've got the lump of coal, but we don't start with a weapon. You tend to need to pick up something early. Oh, the last thing I forgot to mention is the bag itself is how we upgrade. There will be no forging hammers with this build. If we want to upgrade, and we don't have any upgradable things here, but if you get like an armor or a boots and you want to upgrade it, you just put it within the bag, and that will take care of the upgrade. Whew, okay. I'm starting to lose my voice. Let's dive in and see what we can do. And so, very powerful start here with the on sale spear. Reasonably strong item in the early game. Glad to pick it up. I will pick up the stone, and then I want to roll. I want to be like trying to find a bag. I want to be trying to find some direction. And we've got a dagger here early. And so, do y'all just want to go for it? Do you want to see what we can piece together? I think we can. I think we should. Just pick up this dagger and see if that hammer build that we mentioned is on the table. Let's see if it's a possibility for us today. And so let's get this set up and running. And so I want the spear within the bag. This is the only way we can get a single star of spear activations. That looks good to me. As far as the dagger goes, I don't think we really want it in the bag. That 30% damage doesn't seem super amazing. I don't know. I have fairly low expectations for what we get out of this dagger anyways, just dealing a single damage per second, but I think it's fine to leave out of the bag at the moment. Interesting stuff. We've got to see how this goes. So what do we got here? What's this one? Oh, the amplified healing and with the hammer. Ooh, I don't know if we can outdo this hammer this early. I don't think we'll deep some down fast enough. All right. But I like where our head's at. I like some of these opportunities that we have here. So Flame Badge, not super interested in chasing that down at the moment. I haven't been a super big fan of these in the past. Probably not a super huge fan of it now. Did get buffed. It looks like it used to generate 4 flames. Now it generates 5. I'm not certain if there was any change to that shop entered percentage to generate the flames, but we will skip past that. Let's just take a roll here. The only viable item is the banana. I was going to say I kind of just want to pick up a bag. It's been a fairly crappy run here. Let's just pick up the garlic. We'll just get the defensives. We already have good weapons within this build. Let's just go ahead and get the defensives. We'll get the sustain and the garlic banana, the wooden buckler to give us some defense, and then just count on the spear to do some work here early. Just come in and shred this onion armor. Like getting a bunch of free deeps, you know. So yeah, see, there's that 5-second battle rage hitting right in the middle of the battle. It's very interesting. Like, one of the kind of thought processes with the new battle rage is it lets you, kind of like come in and scale up faster, right? What would potentially happen with the old battle rage is, say it would hit like 75% of the way through the battle and your opponent is already like ramped up bigger than you. Like, and so your opponent got to hit their power spike before you hit your power spike, and then they just blaze through you. It gives you the opportunity to either spike at the same time or before, like takes the variability out of it. And so I'm curious to see if that plays into anything interesting as well as we push forward with this. But all right, interesting stuff though. We got an axe, we got a leather armor. I'm fine with that, right? We can swap out this axe for the spear if we want. It looks like the spear does more damage just naturally, but the axe can upgrade itself. Man, this is just so brutal. It's like, I guess it does at least give me some opportunity to talk about why I don't want the why I don't like the leather armor at this point. Let's just snatch that one up and we'll get the... I'm trying to think, we're just like gotta be so hamstrung on space. We gotta roll. We gotta try and find bags. Ugh. Okay. I think this will be fine. But let's see. We are gonna have to move this stuff a little bit. Are we gonna be able to even... Here, we can do this. We're just not gonna be able to use the speed bag with our spear. Need to come over something kind of like this. Oh no, we gotta get the... Shit. Say we got to get the leather armor in the bag to get those upgrades running. Oh, is this just gonna be like super awkward the whole way? Maybe we do this. Is this gonna work in any way? And then the 1 hex. Okay. I don't know if we're gonna get out of this with like just leaving 2 hexes open though. Looks kind of shitty if you ask me. It looks kind of shitty. I guess we got the stone in here, but we can just come out here and speed run our way to 0 wins, right? All right, let's see if we can upgrade against this guy. I think this will give us a reasonable indication of why this is kind of painful, right? You can think of our armor activating around the same time, right? This battle's going to go to fatigue, so you can kind of see it early. But if one of the big things we get out of this bag is that during battle rage, get 25% lifesteal, and then you're at almost full health when that hits, it's just like a real waste. And so, like this dragon scale armor is just not an item I'm super happy about, but it's still strong enough in the early game to enjoy, I think. But here, I do like the gloves. We'll snatch those up, see if we can't find another bag or something. There's our friend there. Now let's see what kind of upgrades we can get on this stuff. Don't need the armor in the main bag anymore. Looking to do something maybe like this, to where we've got our spear up and running, and then we need the dragon claws inside. Ideally, we'll have something on the other side of the gloves of haste. So something like this looks okay. Could definitely be worse, but it's got nice defensives in it. We at least get to upgrade the dagger a little bit. Still have our 1 hex of star power through the spear. Sure. Ooh, look at this. Look at this heavy melee warlock coming at us. This is the battle rage. Our health at least looked decent on this round. Like you don't get a ton of health out of it, but I don't know. At least we took some damage before the big blast started to hit. All right, so how do we go from here? I'm looking towards just upgrading to the Ripsaw Blade. It's not my preferred item by any means, but the things that I'm looking for are going to be either, I want to go for daggers because that's cute and what we can do this game. But if that doesn't come together, we either need the Buster Sword. I think that's probably it. We've already given up on the double axe at this point, so let's do this. Let's just add in the Ripsaw Blade at this point. I'm not going to go for the mana build, although I do concede That's probably the best thing to do at this point. Got another fanny pack to come in here. Definitely not going to be a build for a flute, right? We've got a 6-hex dragon scale, 4-hex ripsaw blade, just not really on point with what we're trying to do with these items. So let's see, we can come in something like that. I'm trying to think, I think we'd prefer to just have the banana be our dragon clawed item. Just the pain point here is going to be finding a way to like, does it? I know this doesn't make a ton of difference, but doesn't say we just push it up this way. I don't think it's going to wrap around how I want. This bag is so awkward. All right, let's get back to where we were. I don't like anything that just happened. And so I think this is kind of close to where we want to be. Ideally, we would have the wooden buckler in here. So maybe it's just a matter of coming in like this. Still kind of short. All right, whatever. Battle Rage to activate 40% faster. Alright. Oh, god damn it. I guess we won't put too much effort into joining together the two foods. I guess realistically the 20% off of the fanny pack's better than the 10% from a single food combined, and so could definitely be worse. Here it is, our favorite item in the game, the Star of Courage. So glad that that exists. So glad. I think we're still going to get the takedown on the round. We have much more resources than the old opponent here, but the dumbass item. What a dumbass item. Okay, and so looking here, though, a lot of interesting stuff. Now, again, I'm going to say that we should probably just give up on this hammer build at this point. the hammer has not been found. We only have one dagger. I can't envision what I would completely want the build to look like to say I'm all in on this, but I can tell you this, we aren't there. But I already have it in my head that this is what we're going to do, and it's what I'm kind of tunneling towards. And so it's the way I'm going to push forward with this. Now, I will say with this bag, though, at the point I was trying to make earlier in the video, in the sense that these bags like really polarize you towards a specific build. And so in my head, the builds that are looking decent, we have like a handful of different options. There's the hammer build with brass knuckles, which is probably just a meme. There's what I think to be the best is going for one big weapon, and then probably just going for pets and going for the pet build. And then the next thing after that would be going for a shaman mask kind of build. But with like where we've gotten up to this point, we haven't seen any gemstone boxes. If we have, they weren't on sale, and so I kind of ignored it. We've seen 1 dagger, 0 hammers, so that build is kind of off of the table. Probably could have gone for a suboptimal mana-based build, right? If we want to play on-hit mana, we don't want to be playing this bag, and so like, how are you supposed to feel good at this point about what you're going to be doing? Like, I guess the best thing we can do at this point is just go for dogs, but God, it's just a real pain point. And so what I was trying to say with this bag, where this bag gets us, is if you imagine that we had 2 daggers at this point, we could really kind of like hammer in the build in the sense that we could upgrade 1 dagger with Blood Amulet, upgrade 1 dagger with Pestilence Flask, and then we can look to get the leather boots upgraded, which then give Empowered, and Empowered is quite good when you're wielding 5 and 6 separate weapons. Now, I don't think that's really on the table, and I'm actually just going to go ahead and give up on that. I think I am just going to pick up the Jinx Tortilla here, and just, I know I said I was going to do one thing, and now I'm just not going to do it, but I think that would have been the way to go about it. Would have been... I lost my train of thought. But let's push on with this. So I am going to come in and pick up these boots, though. And then I think I'm kind of okay with where this stuff stands. So we've got the boots upgrading. The tortilla is going to take us down the pets. Then we'll look to probably just replace this ripsaw blade at some point. Maybe maybe we'll find one of the bigger weapons. Right, up against the old pyromancer and the foods. Battle rage hits. Lost a bunch of health before it did. I don't think we're going to sustain through this, though. It's hitting too hard. Got a lot of upgrades in there. You gotta be kidding me. It's like as soon as we're like, okay, well, we're just gonna give up on the daggers, you see the pumpkin turn up. And that's tough. That's tough. Just giving you that third way to nail a stun, right? The 50% chance to stun for half a second. It's on a 5-second cooldown, but we can really manage the cooldowns with the various fanny packs and stuff. And then there's also a dagger to go along with it. Fucking fine. Now, the thing I will say about the dagger builds like this are they the thing that tends to be like fairly unfortunate in my opinion is the upgrades are all so expensive, right? Upgrading a dagger for 9 gold to get plus to get the vampiric, upgrading it for 7 gold to get pestilence, or 4 + 2, 6 gold to get the mana one. It's all very, very expensive. Like, I guess there is a world to where, I mean, do you ever just want to go Reaper so you can try and get these things? No, you don't have enough flame generation. And so, I don't know. It's tough seeing it like that. Let's see. We got to be getting our upgrades in here now. This bag is just going to be off the charts annoying. Say at the moment, let's just take the 30% on the bag at the bottom. We can still jinx tortilla onto it and potentially get some upgrades that way. Then this awkward ass bag's gonna keep us from getting another dagger in. I'm not seeing any way to rearrange this to get the other dagger. Fine. All right, well, let's see. We gotta find a hammer, we gotta get the brass knuckles, and then everything will be off to the races, huh? Starting to wear him down. I worry we don't have a ton of sustain once that battle rage ends. It's not enough damage right at the end. Okay, brass knuckles and hammer. All right, it hit. We're here, fam. We're here. So let's see what we can do. We need to spend the rest of this money real quick. Let's use the amulet. It's on sale. Let's see what turns up. We're not going to be playing food. I wouldn't be opposed to more gloves of haste, but we got to get like bag space at this point. And I think it's going to be too tough to do without it. So there's another fanny pack. It's not the size that we want, but that kind of is what it is at this point. It's not a ton we can really do about that. And now we can at least kind of showcase what my thought and idea was with this bag and what we can do, and why you don't necessarily have to put all of your items within the main portion of the bag. And so what I'm looking to do is we want brass knuckles like right here. Okay, so it's not going to be within the main bag. It's not going to suffer that 30% slower attack, because we don't actually care about the attack speed, right? We care about the damage. We care about this getting the stuns in. And so we want to have that in the fanny pack. Now we're going to put a hammer off to the side. Let me see. I want to have as many fanny packs as we can, so we can do the triple fanny pack this way. I think that will be okay. It's like the same thing kind of applies with the hammer as it does with the pumpkin as it does with the hammer, to where we don't really care about the damage. We care about the stuns, but we'll come back to that. Let me see here. So now we're gonna have the daggers inside. I think like we have enough space. I'm trying to envision if we have a way to get both the dragon claws and the pumpkin in like this. I don't think so. Our hammer does deal the actual damage though, so I think I want the hammer next to the brass knuckles. The other option would have been, say, putting the dragon claws in kind of like this, and then trying to get something underneath it. Can't remember if the game is the same size this way. Yeah, it's the same. We just get the oh no, we get 2 to the right this way. So we could do something like this. But I guess realistically, we do have a Jinx Tortilla, and we'd prefer to just Jinx Tortilla 40% faster. So okay, I think I'm on board with that. Now we can get this other stuff just in here. We're in kind of an unfortunate state with our bag. I don't think we're going to be able to get our armor in. And I do kind of want the Wolfentinger. Alright, let's just stop here. Let's get going. Let's see how this goes in battle. I don't feel great about it, but maybe we can pop off. It's kind of Charizard us, but he's short on some of his upgrades. Doesn't feel like we're doing any damage. There was a stun that finally hit at the end. All right, we got a victory. We got a W. Wasn't expecting too much out of that, but look at there. Looky there, we got a win. Good job, team. So, all right, let's move forward. Can't use any of this stuff. Here's another bag that looks decent. Now, how does this hit on Godly and Unique? That was another reason that I'm kind of upset about the upset about that new item, right? It's a unique. So the Star of Courage is unique. That counts. That matters in the game. If you want to come and look at what's the bag that was added in the last patch? Things like the Box of Prosperity. And so as you want to like start in the early game, you have that stupid item that you get because you played on random mode. Now you're out here generating Box of Prosperities, and you're already 50% of the way towards upgrading this thing and pushing on. And so it's just like little upgrades like that really pay off all the way across the board. And it's just it's such an absurdity that it's set up like that. Nonetheless, what do we think about this Manny Nico? Where is it at here? It's just going to be 30. I'm curious if we want to go for that 20% faster on the pumpkin and the brass knuckles. It's probably too expensive. If it was on sale, I would consider it, but not at the current state. All right, so there we go. We got our third dagger. Need some way to upgrade those, but we're getting there. We're getting places. All right, so let's take a bag, and then I was going to look to add in the oil lamp. We're going to be kind of far away in terms of money at this point. Let's see. I mean, we probably need to get realistic about fixing some of our bag space here. It's like I have high hopes for what we can do with this hammer, but we probably need to be a little bit more realistic about our items. I think this is okay. This is at least closer. Would like to get the boots in, but we'll just have to live without that empowered this round. Okay. We're getting places. We're going things and doing places, you know. All right, the battle rage hits. The daggers ready to start poking. Nice. Crushed him. Okay, so there's the oil lamp. That looks good. Still needs some more bags. Spiked collar and fanny pack. All looks good to me. And so, let's see here. Still not Still not solving our problems of getting the dragon skin boots on board, but we're close. We're close to everything being good. How fast? 10% faster? I'm trying to think if we want to like dig into any of these foods for the pumpkin. It's kind of tough at this point to want to chase after them. Seemed like our battle rages hit at different times.
Yeah.
Crushed them. Bringing them big stuns. Good job, Bust. So, okay, definitely want this other oil lamp. Again, I don't think the orb activates off anything. It doesn't. This is the way I tell, right? I don't know what items we actually have. You just pick up the orb and drag it over everything and see if any little stars turn up. They don't. All right, so what do we got here? Another fanny pack. That will let us get some of this stuff in. Like, what if we do something like this? Not super ideal. I was wanting to just see if there's another spot we can put the dragon scale armor. It's been fairly awkward with all of these fanny packs. I guess we can do this, right? This is probably the change we should have made a while ago. Well, we're not even... Hang on. Something like this. Is that better, or is that worse? It's at least got two speed bags on the pumpkin, and then we get to put the dragon scale armor out this way. This just seems so much better. Why didn't you all tell me to do this forever ago? It's not my fault. It's your fault. What changed to where we were able to do this? Why were things so bad? Was it just that we had that 3-slot bag out here doing fuck all? Jesus, how much better does this look than 2 rounds ago? But all right, the things are coming together. The things you want to see, right? We've got the scaling daggers. We get the empowered out of the boots now. Our bag looks a little less shitty. Got the Jinx tortilla upgrading all of our stun items to get even more stuns in. Okay. This guy's still zinging us, but it's a thought. It's a place to be. Okay. Well, I'm definitely going to pick the spike collars. We want to stay in battle rage as long as we can. And eyeballing this other tortilla, being like, well, there's another way to just upgrade these upgrade these stun-based items, but I don't think it's going to come together. Do we ever want to just try and pick up another leather boot? Right? It's not super strong. I'm not trying to get that. Like, cleansing 3 debuffs and picking up 1 empowered, 12 armor, it's probably not worth 6 gold. But I like the idea and the thought behind it, to where we're picking up empowered to help stack up these daggers that we have going. I'm going to leave it home. It's probably worth it on sale, not worth it off sale. All right, RNGesus coming in at the end, delivering on the stuns. I appreciate it. So here, this stuff, not too spectacular. I'm not opposed to picking up more gloves. We don't have a ton of areas to where they would spectacularly fit, though. I think we'll skip over it. Glowing Crown I do like, but we don't have any mana. 1 hex bag for sure. Other stuff doesn't really do anything. I guess it's another dagger. I mean, it's not gonna do anything special, right? Realistically, this dagger we have in the middle is not doing anything special. I like the oil lamp upgrades that we have on the other daggers. I wonder if the thing that we would really prefer is to have like a falcon blade, to where if we take out this middle dagger and put a falcon blade in, and then have the falcon blade upgrading dagger, brass knuckles, and then also being able to hit. Can it hit one? The oil lamp can hit one of the daggers as well. That might be the way to actually go about this. But yeah, we have enough daggers now. We don't need that one. All right, I guess we'll spend a shitload of money, on this thing. Pick up the fanny pack. Off to the next round. What's going on here? Lots of stones, lots of foods. Big poisons coming in. We need those stuns, fam. Need those boots to keep the poisons at bay. And so, all right, didn't come together that well, but we can say we got the hammer build together, and it's a nice like thought process, you know, at the beginning of these patches and trying to figure out how you're best going to use these bags. You're looking to not use on-hit effects, at least as far as this Berserker bag goes. Now, I'm not fully convinced that that's the right idea. I still feel like that things like Spike Staff are probably just the best thing that you can do. But looking at like the kind of context of that game and how things came together, if you are looking for, say, like the big Buster Sword build with the gemstones on it, we didn't see a gemstone box until super late. We didn't see a Buster Sword whatsoever. We did see the double axes that you could put together, but it was a bit awkward and odd timing with those. And so it was kind of a real pain point in that sense. I did like that we got to kind of showcase to where you could potentially leave some items in the bag, some items out. That's what I really wanted to kind of showcase within this one, is you don't necessarily have to put all of your stuff within this bag. You can leave some items out, leave some items in. And I think that that was the kind of interesting take with this build, although I don't think the hammer build is any good. I think it's an interesting kind of viewpoint to take on it. The thing that may be more realistic with this build, and another one that gets me, my thoughts kind of brewing with this thing, would be using the Thorn Bloom. This does a lot of the similar ideas as to where it can gain bonuses without the attack power. I know it has the on hit gain a thorn and the chance to gain empowered, but the thing I kind of look at with this is also on the empowered you gain health. And so this was one of the initial builds that I kind of thought of with this new Berserker bag, is using the Thorn Blooms empowered to gain health, using the cheeses to gain health, looking to have ways to just gain thorns to gain all of those extra empowereds, and then that tying into the usefulness of Battle Rage hitting at a certain point in the game to where we have health to recover back. And so if we're like gaining all of this extra health, then we can always have something to recover. And so that was kind of like one of the thoughts and ideas I had with this, and just kind of going through the process of thinking what might be good with this new bag. And I haven't been impressed with it in practice, but I think that's what you're kind of looking to think about when trying to figure out how to make these new bags work. But good stuff. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. So hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way, and you had a good time watching. This is Bustin' Me. Thank you for being here.